What is going on, guys? We are back with Coyote Swap content. We have the 90 Fox body behind us. This is the Fox body I picked up in trade for my drift car.
Go, hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave.
Paid a little bit of cash on top, and I picked this car. It had an LS 6-liter in it, blown up with a T56. We sold some parts out of it, and we are going to be Coyote swapping it to get this ready to go drifting. Now, I am going to walk you through every part that we have laid out here, and basically kind of give you guys some info on Coyote swapping. We've now done quite a few. We did OG, the Fox body we rebuilt, you know, with the single turbo kit. We did the Coyote Swap single turbo S197, Brad's car, the Predator blower Coyote Swap as well. So we got some info, and we also sell a lot of parts that can help you kind of get one of these Coyote Swaps in order. So I'm going to walk you through some stuff that we sell, some stuff we don't sell, and hopefully I can give you guys a lot of information, show you how easy these swaps really are. Like I said, it's a 90 Fox body. These are pretty much the same 79 to 04, so a lot of the information in this video is also applicable to 99 to 04. There are some specifics, and there are some things that we aren't going to touch on, being that this car is a race car. It does not have any of the factory body control modules or body harness and all that stuff. It is basically standalone wired with a switch panel. We aren't going to go into depth with AC and your OEM type gauge cluster, but this will be your basics. That stuff you'll have to research a little bit more. We've done a lot of that with the new Edge, and we can kind of point you in the direction with some other videos, but this is going to be talking about a race car style build. We are going to be running power steering. It is a drift car, so let's get into it. Item number one, UPR tubular K-member. You can see we have it here. Usually I suggest tubular A-arms from them as well. We do have an angle kit on this car, so we aren't using the UPR tubular A-arms, but I highly recommend those. So this is for 4.6 mod motor mounts, and we'll talk about that here in just a sec. But this is highly recommended. This is so that the Coyote just goes and bolts right in. Here is the old Gen 1. This is the old Cobra motor. Looks a little pretty. We got Brad installing the new Ultimate headers. We're going to talk about those in a second. I want to give a huge shout out to my friend Bruce. He's actually local here. He powder coated the valve covers and the timing cover, and this thing looks sick. So I can't wait to see it in there, especially with some accents. You can already see that, you know, basically with the alternator here, it's kind of break up this red, and it's just going to look sick. So there are already quite a few things on this. You can see the Ultimate Swap headers. These are the 10R80, 6R80, and manual headers. So these are going to give you the best fitment to go ahead and swap into your 79 to 04 car. We'll show that in the car, obviously, but there's a lot of issues, especially with a lot of these headers, is trying to get your trans in and out, as well as a 6R80 and 10R80, because they're much bigger.
BVK. You're a little too tight, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we pulled Brad's trans out before, and it was really, really hard. We had to pull the headers.
Both of them. Yeah,
so we were able to pull OG's T45 out with Ultimate headers, which were the 6R80 headers. These ones are a little bit wider for the 10R80. So that's what we are running here. This right here is a Gen 1 Coyote. Most of this video is going to be talking about Gen 1 Coyote, but the same concepts are applicable to Gen 2 and Gen 3, just with some different caveats. The reason why we use Gen 1 for most of our swaps is because everything's so readily available, and we have so many extra parts laying around here, which I'll show you guys that we have and sell a lot of these different parts as well. Running through power/engine management, we use the Power by the Hour control pack. They designed this harness in-house. Super easy to wire. They have some leads right here. You wire that in. It's a start, start stop, key on power, and some really basic stuff. Everything is, basically laid out here. This one says fuel pump power. This one says fan power. You can wire this a few different ways, but there is basically like 4 necessary wires, and you can hook this up. You can see your OBD2, good to go. This is a repurposed Gen 1 computer. We sell a lot of these. and we sent this out to Power by the Hour, got pats deleted, and it's ready to go. So if you guys need a computer, we have those on deck. We have a mass airflow sensor. We sell a lot of these. Gas pedals, we also sell a lot of these. This one is out of one of the cars from here.
It's been modified already to fit the bracket.
Yeah,
so the one tab is cut down. The swap brackets end up using a 2-bolt system to attach the pedal instead of the 3-bolt, which comes from the factory.
So that's that scram speed. We'll have a link down in the description. This is the pedal bracket, bolts onto stock, good to go. Since this car has a brake reservoir for the clutch and has a hydraulic clutch setup, we decided to, rather than going cable, which you can absolutely do, this car is already set up like this, we're gonna go with a modern driveline external slave for TR3650. That's what we're gonna be running in this car. So this is the first time trying this out, but this should work great. Back to the Power by the Hour engine management, you can see that this has, you know, some various plugs, and you can see that forward connector there. That's your body harness side. Trans harness is extremely important. This is where your wideband data comes from. So not only do you need an engine harness, but you also need a trans harness. We sell a lot of those here at Freedom Parts Outlet. We have an engine harness laid out right here. This one's good to go. You want to make sure that your engine harness matches your VCT solenoids right here. The 11 model has really small ones, but that is one thing you want to check. Not a huge deal. You can always swap, splice, change them out any which way. So you can change these, or you can change the connectors. It's not a huge deal, but something to look out for when you buy that engine harness. Nothing too much to say about the engine harness. It's fairly simple there. Now the trans harness, you have a few different options how you want to run your power distribution. We typically cut this out and slim out a lot of things that we don't need. But the O2 sensors and widebands right here, these are extremely important. Some people start to cut these things out, cut wires out. If you don't know what you're doing, don't do that. You'll see that right here is the electric steering rack for an S197. Obviously, we can cut that out. We're not going to be using that. So that is something to note on these trans harnesses. And this is a manual trans harness. You will need a manual one. Auto will not really swap over to manual, and these are getting hard to find, but I think we have one or two in stock at the moment. Widebands, we sell them when we have them in stock and we know that they're good. You can save $1 here, you can buy them at your local parts store. We got some used ones for it. Throttle bodies, these are also, I think, kind of hard to find new and a little bit expensive, but we sell them pretty often on the website. We got a Stifler's crossmember. I believe this is the correct one to work with our T45. Guess we'll find out, but we have that to go with the Fox body. I know this came with T56. We have a spacer plate. This is another thing that will kind of trip you up when you try to go install this, is you need that trans spacer plate. We have a bunch of those. We sell a ton of those. Starter, this is the short style that works with the Ultimate headers. There are starters that do and don't work with various different header choices, so keep that in mind when you buy a starter and your headers. They have to correspond together. There's going to be a lot of info in this video, and I'm trying to cover everything, but links as always in the description, and if you guys have questions, go ahead and leave them down there. Here's one thing that I actually forgot about. Well, we're not going to forget when we put it in the car, but this is extremely important. If you don't know, this is the reluctor wheel. This goes on the back side before the flywheel, and this is what the crank sensor picks up on. So that goes down back there, and if you do not put this in, your engine will not run because it won't know if there's any RPM. Extremely important. We sell a lot of these too. So like I said, if you need anything, check Freedom Parts Outlet. We also have a Coyote Swap parts category. And because we do a lot of these swaps and we know about a lot of little odds and ends, we set apart bolt kits, water pump bolts, harmonic balancers, timing cover bolt sets, just everything that we have found to be kind of a pain in the butt to find when we go to put these things together. We set them off to the side when we tear down a core engine or, you know, a cracked block or something like that. We try to pull everything we can out of it so that, you know, we can put something together for you guys, and in the case of a cracked block, trying to make some money back on a car that we weren't expecting to have a cracked block. So there's various different parts, this thermostat housing, a lot of these things, you start going to Ford and start buying brand new parts. It'll be $100 here, $50 here, 100 and something here, $100 there. I mean, it will add up to so much. You go down to our website and pick up a lot of these little odds and ends, and we have them heavily discounted over the, you know, the new price. So Coyote Swap stuff can get expensive, but it can also be done on a budget, you know, if you can kind of figure out what everything you need is. Fuel rails, we sell a lot of those. Those are on the website. We have a center force clutch we're going to be using on this. We have an 8-bolt Cobra flywheel. That's typically what you can use with these. It's super easy. We're using a TR3650 from a 99 to 04 Mustang. Well, technically 01, 04. 10-split input shaft. Center force clutch is brand new. We have a drive shaft that actually worked with the Fox body T56 that was in here, but also works with the 3650. So we lucked out there, I think. We'll find out when it goes in the car. Alternator, you need a non-clutched alternator pulley. Make sure you do that. We have the power by the hour alternator relocation bracket. We'll show you guys that on the car. Like I said, we have everything for this down in the description. Brand new Ford throw-up bearing, brand new Ford pilot bearing. And I think that's most of it. We have a short throw shifter for the T45 or 3650, sorry. We sell a lot of those as well. A lot of this stuff is like, we've found what you need for these swaps and you try to put it together on the website and make it easy for anyone who's doing a swap, and try to give you guys all the info so you guys can do some more swaps yourself. So the actual Fox body engine, we did a boundary, oil pump gear, crank gear, and basically put this all back together. This is the old Cobra motor that's made somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 wheel horsepower. We're gonna be turning it down a little bit. Brad got it torn apart. Everything looked beautiful in there. So I have no doubt this engine's gonna be ready to rock. We also have an 18 manifold. Gonna try it. It should fit under the stock Fox body hood that we have here for now. Typically run a ported Boss or something like that, but it's what we had laying around, and that's what's going on here. This thing is just starting to look so sick, especially once you start getting, you know, some black accents in here, like the black with the silver alternator. I think it's just gonna look so awesome, especially in the car. So I talked about it briefly, power steering pump. This is the Cobra's original power steering pump. We are going electric on that one since that one's primarily a drag car, but a Volvo electric pump doesn't quite work on a drag car, on a drift car like this. So, and this car's actually already set up for power steering. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use the power by the hour relocation power steering pump. So has this little bracket here, sits in the factory location where it would on a 4.6 car. And then we put the alternator here because normally the alternator would be down here. So that's what we're gonna do. We also have a power steering cooler on this already, and we're gonna figure out like a few different AN lines and stuff like that, but that's our cooler there. Other than that, I mean, that's most of it. Engine bay is pretty much clean, looks good, ready for this engine to be dropped in here. We're gonna do it from below, sandwich it back together, but basically drop the K-member down on the ground, put the engine trans in there, and sandwich her back together. One other thing I kind of forgot, so these I actually recommend probably buying a new one from Ford. We do have them up on the website, but they are known to leak, especially when you take them on and off. But this guy goes here, that guy goes there. Dorman also makes an aluminum one, which is actually pretty nice, which is rare for Dorman because Dorman doesn't make a lot of nice stuff. So what I recommend is using 1114 Mustang as your upper radiator hose. That has the quick connect right in there. This works pretty well for really any radiator setup you are using, but it's going to vary depending on how you're doing your lower and your upper and everything else. So I can't give you direct bolt-on stuff. We've figured out some stuff that works for new edge stuff. We'll probably put some part numbers down below in the description. But for this Fox body, it can really vary depending on where your upper, lower radiator hose and your reservoir and all that stuff. So I don't have a one size fits all, but this one works pretty well for your upper radiator hose, and that's just an OEM part. We sell a lot of them on the website. You can also get them from your local Ford dealership. I think they're kind of expensive. I think around $100. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I touched upon it a little bit, but we just use 4/6 motor mounts. They bolt directly onto your Coyote block Gen 1, 2, and 3. Don't know about Gen 4 yet, but they use the same bolt holes. There are a little bit of tricks. You said you used the 2-valve bolts.
Yes, so the Coyote itself has a thicker aluminum motor mount, and because of that, if you get one, you cannot use those unless you cut them down. So if you're coming from a 4/6 2-valve, 4-valve, whatever, keep those bolts because they're great for that.
Yep. So you can see that's just your regular 4/6 motor mount. You can use stock ones, aftermarket. We have had to shave some of them. Some of them have like this like a little edge or something that kind of gets in the way, but for the most part you can kind of figure it out. You can see that those bolt holes line up with the pattern there. So we are using the Center Force single disc clutch. It's not going to make a ton of power. This should support the 450-ish horsepower we're going to be putting out of this Gen 1 Coyote. We're using an 8-bolt Cobra flywheel. I think that's what that is.
This one was actually spec.
Spec. They all look kind of the same. But that's what we're using there. We have the single disc right there. We're going to go ahead and assemble this. Thanks to carparts.com. I'll leave a link in the description. We got some parts for Brad's builds from them, and they hooked us up with this Center Force clutch. So we're gonna get that thrown on the car and get it in and see how it likes. Some clutch kicks and making some power. Put a dab of blue Loctite on each pressure plate bolt, and just about ready to stab the trans in, and I guess we're gonna try to swing it in through the top. Last time didn't work so well with the black GT500. Wasn't our fault, but we'll give her a try. If not, we'll drop the K, but
I'd rather not.
okay, so the 3650 is on. We're almost ready to put it in the car. We're gonna tighten up the starter and a few little odds and ends, and we're gonna try to shove her in through the top. Not usually how we do it, but we'll give it a try. Well, going in through the top didn't work. It was just too tight, and we pulled it back out and dropped the K member, and here we are. I don't think it ever works out for us going through the top.
I think if we didn't have the trans, it would have made it. The trans just, it changed the angle in the tunnel. It is what it is. It's on the head.
Yeah, it didn't take too long. We were just trying to shove it in, but it didn't work. It also might be a good idea to pick up various washers, or some people sell some shim kits for this. You want me to go up on the...
Nope, I got plenty. I don't want to pull out the other side.
So a lot of times the oil pan will hit the steering rack on these Coyote swaps. So, very simple solution. Washers, spacers, whatever you want. You don't need much, but just a little bit to get the pan up off the steering rack. Once you do that, go ahead and lower this guy down. Is that in?
Yeah, it's on this side, not that side.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, there's plenty of space now.
Yeah, and that was 3 washers on each side. You can see it better there, but now the pan has clearance. Before it was sitting on it, and you don't really want that.
Some people have clearance the pans, which, I mean, I guess you can do, but I really wouldn't recommend because it'll kind of stop that flow from the front going back. But couple washers makes it work. We haven't had any issues with anything.
Yeah, and it doesn't pick the engine up much at all, so. And the Cobra has some washers on it as well, and the blower still fits under the stock hood.
All of our swap cars have had it except for the GT500, and that's just because it had a different K.
Yeah, we actually lowered the GT500.
We did have to lower that.
Okay, now the easy part. Sandwich it together. Luckily, I don't think the K-member moved much, so we should be pretty much in line to put this in. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of stuff on the race car to get in the way. Engine will just kind of slide right in.
Good clearance. Need a shift.
It looks slightly over to this side. Like, see this bracket right here? It's going to be really close to the valve cover.
Yeah. We don't use it, so we could cut it.
What's that bracket for?
Sway bar. Which this car doesn't have.
Well, if you know what that means, it means there's going to be some metal shavings flying in the air. So we're going about our business, trying to get her in, and the sway bar mounts for the Fox body don't seem like they're going to play nicely with our nice, pretty valve covers. So I think we're just going to nix them out of the equation. The way they did the steering shaft with this LS, this is going to come really, really close. But yeah, we'll let you guys know how it goes. They also have this cutout tunnel area for where they had the T56. We're obviously gonna have to see where this lines up with that, because this had an LS with an F-body T56 Magnum transmission. So we're gonna cut those out of the equation, get them off of there, and then hopefully we can squeeze by the steering shaft. Cutting a hole in that little tunnel area is not a big deal, and then we can also weld and cover up whatever doesn't, you know, is too big of a hole. But that is where we're at. Don't put an LS in your Ford, guys. All right, so I just pulled out the old Amazon plasma cutter and cut out the trans tunnel. Should be good. I think we may eventually weld in the other areas, so it's kind of closed in nice, but there we go. Trans will now fit, or shifter will fit. Trans already fit. Good old plasma. You guys want to pick one up, I'll put a link in the description. It was pretty inexpensive and works pretty well. Engine's in. This is the fun stuff you find out when you're putting these cars together, and it's one of the reasons why this video might be helpful for you guys. But 3650, so we did have two cross members here, and I thought that this one was for a Fox, but this one, the Stifler's one, is for an SN95. This one's for a QA1, it's for a T56 Magnum F for the LS setup. So it looks like the ratchet strap, we'll see how she holds on.
Should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be drifting it that hard, you know, but just kidding. My buddy Rob at SVT Motorsports, Rob Little, he does a lot of Coyote Swaps just like us. And I just ordered the correct Stifler's one for it. It fits pretty much everything, T45, 3650, T56, 400, it's just all of them. So that'll go right here. It'll be bolt-on, perfect, ready to go. I think we're looking pretty good down here. I know you guys are gonna be like, why didn't you clean the transmission? It's a 3650, they're dime a dozen. This is a spare one with a slightly grinding fourth. It's just the extra parts laying around built this car. So anyways, so we will have an update on that when that comes in. I'll put the part number down in the description, but that will be a nice bolt on there, and everything else, I mean, we're looking pretty good. Header's looking awesome. We will have to probably kind of sneak the exhaust in and around, but I know plenty of really good fab guys around here. So we're probably gonna do some sort of X-pipe here. And then I was thinking of dumps to keep it simple, lightweight. That's a typical Fox Body thing to do, especially being that this doesn't, I'm not a Fox Body guy, but this doesn't really make sense for exhaust tips, in my opinion.
Well, the GTs have turned down tips at the back, whereas everything else other than that had a straight tip.
Yeah, so we're just gonna be the typical Fox body guy that puts Flowmaster dump. No, just kidding. No, but we have some pipes, turn downs left over from the black GT500. That's gonna go probably somewhere right here before the axle, and we'll call it a day. Try not to make it too loud, but not too quiet.
It'd be alright.
Yeah, I mean, loud enough to sound really cool, but not open header, basically. All right, guys, so the engine is in the Fox body. We're waiting on a few more things. The drive shaft to get shortened. It just was a little bit too long. A few other things, but we'll be back with some more videos on that. I hope you guys are excited. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps get this video out to more people. And I've been super busy working on so much stuff lately, but hope you guys enjoyed the video. Fox body's coming soon. Cobra Terminator, I didn't show it yet, but the Cobra now has the Gen 3 motor. This car obviously has Cobra's old motor. That's the Gen 3. Blower's getting ported. So that video will come soon as the blower comes back, but I didn't want to kind of leave you guys with a partial video because we haven't fired this new engine up yet. Anyway, guys, leave a comment. Let us know what videos you want to see. I mean, we got the GT500. We got the other GT500, the Fox body, Cobra, things in the works for OG. But hit the like button, comment. We'll see you in the next one. Hit the subscribe button if you're new.